Over the past few weeks and even months, there's been a lot of speculation and rumors circulating the world's tallest roller coaster, Kingda Ka, at Six Flags Great Adventure. And unfortunately, it's not looking good.
It's not looking good at all. We're looking at a potential closure as early as within like the next couple of weeks, which would just be an absolutely massive blow to obviously enthusiasts, but also people who just frequent Great Adventure, who just love that park, and the industry as a whole, because obviously the record was going to be taken from it in the coming months or year, however long it
Falcon's
takes.
Flight.
For Falcon's Flight to open. But this is a definitively different type of ride that we will likely never see again after this.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's been a big transition period away from this style of ride. If you're unfamiliar, Kingda Ka is an intimate hydraulic launch coaster. So it uses hydraulic fluid, a catch car latches onto the train, and it sends it flying down the launch track up to 128 miles per hour, at least that is what they claim, in 3.5 seconds. So it is quite the experience. And it would be a crying shame to lose that, especially with such short notice. And it seems like we might not even get an official announcement from the park. There's a very good chance it just closes, and that's it.
Well, I really hope not, because I feel like that would be borderline insulting
to
people. Because, here's the thing. Obviously, as an enthusiast, losing any big, notable coaster is going to hurt to some degree. Volcano really hurt you, obviously, right? When that closed. This is different. Kingda Ka is a worldwide recognizable icon. I will talk to people, all over the world who have, varying degrees of roller coaster knowledge. They'd be like, yeah, but have you done the Kingda Ka? And I'm like, yes, I've done the Kingda Ka.
yeah. People everywhere have seen this coaster before. There are people who will travel to Six Flags Great Adventure just to experience the world's tallest roller coaster. And so the fact that we're even having this conversation of this ride might be closing for good, I think is shocking.
It is. It's absolutely shocking. And it's more shocking that all of these things appear to be going on behind the scenes that are leading us to believe that that's what's going to happen, and they're just not being discussed openly. Because I think that they know that the moment that the news drops or they talk about it publicly, it's going to cause an eruption of people being upset, angry, and all kinds of feelings.
There will be insane backlash, and I think that's why they're afraid to make an announcement. You're absolutely right. There is a lot clearly going on behind the scenes, and it seems like things are changing very fast. We first heard that there was talks about Kingda Ka's future earlier this summer, but we never really thought to make a video about it because it seemed like it was just talk, right? It was just something might be done in the future.
Yeah.
Whenever that is.
That's the thing is enthusiasts will kind of radicalize things, right? It's a small kind of maybe this is something that's being talked about a smidgen by one party involved in a decision this big will have a ton of parties involved, right?
Not just the park, but now Six Flags corporate, including those executives from Cedar Fair, because now this is a post-merger world.
And typically you'll have a manufacturer involved and people who work in safety. And this is another thing to talk about, is it fixable?
From everything we've been hearing, this is still being finalized as we speak. The actual closing date. How much longer do you keep it open for? I guarantee you, those executives did not know at the start of this season that this could potentially be Kingda Ka's last year. Things are just changing very, very rapidly. And so that's why we also do have to take this with a little bit of caution, because there's still a good chance that plans could change. Even a couple weeks ago, I don't think that we actually were hearing that Kingda Ka would be closing this year.
So I think that to really talk about this in a well-rounded way, we have to look at multiple contributing factors here. And I think the first one that we need to mention is the fact that there are different people calling the shots now. Six Flags and Cedar Fair, as we all know, merged earlier this year. Is that playing a role? I'm going to say probably.
I would be willing to bet we would not be here discussing this if Cedar Fair was not involved, because we've seen this strategy from Cedar Fair in the past of removing those really problematic attractions. If it's a big money sucker and you can do without it, then get rid of it.
Which is understandable from a business aspect. I have to try not to lead with the emotional side of me, because I will just preface and say now, I grew up going to Great Adventure. It was my home park my whole life growing up. And this ride has a very strong sentimental attachment for me.
Yeah.
So losing it would not only suck as an enthusiast and, someone who takes part in the industry, but also just as a human being. I will definitely shed tears over this.
Oh, same.
If it happens, which, again, like we said, it's not looking good, so I'm trying to emotionally prepare myself here. But
these are businesses at the end of the day.
They are.
That's where this decision is coming from. Money is probably our number one leading factor.
Obviously, it is an icon for the park. It is a huge draw to get people in. But the thing is, Great Adventure is in a location that draws in crowds no matter what. Because it is right in the middle of, like, all of the most populated areas in, like, the eastern part of the U.S.
Yeah.
So even if they were to get rid of Kingda Ka, they could market something else that's, like, incredible and put it in its spot that hopefully will be more reliable, that won't cost them so much money. I get it.
Yes, because the hydraulic launch system that Kingda Ka uses is just not being used anymore. It has become very expensive to maintain. So even if you keep it around another season, you're then having to do your annual rebuilds over the off season, and there's always a chance that like something could happen, and then they might not have Kingda Ka for a whole nother year, because there have been seasons where Kingda Ka has been on and off in terms of its reliability. I would say as of recently, I feel like it's been pretty reliable, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why I'm actually kind of surprised that this is a conversation that's being had now, because I felt like Kingda Ka has been open more than it's been closed, and there's some other rides I can point to that I feel like that has not been the case for.
Yeah, honestly, I was more expecting that something was going to happen with El Toro before Kingda Ka.
Sure, considering 2 seasons in a row.
Yeah, and considering like it had some incidences and stuff, I thought that that was the more likely one on the chopping block, which would hurt even worse probably.
Right.
But like, it's no secret that Cedar Fair, prior to merging with Six Flags, had their own version of this ride over at Cedar Point with Top Thrill Dragster, which has presented them with similar problems as far as reliability and everything.
I would say it was even more problematic than Kingda Ka.
I would too. And then they obviously had a very tragic accident that happened, and they went with the approach that I suspect they were working on before the accident happened, which was to redo the ride and get rid of the hydraulic launch, which was the big problem, which getting rid of the hydraulic launch meant having to go with a different system to launch it, because you can't necessarily get LSMs up to speed
Yet.
Yes. Yeah, so that was why the swing launch got put into place. So that was them making that attempt. And I imagine that back then when that was just starting, that Six Flags was watching, right? Like, how is this going to go? Because maybe we'll have to do this someday.
Yeah.
And now, after how poorly it's gone so far, I imagine that they were like, hey, we're just not going to do this with Kingda Ka. Let's just scrap it. Let's move on. Let's try something different. Instead of going through this process, the headache that has been Top Thrill 2.
Which is a crying shame in my opinion, because obviously things have not gone the way Cedar Point was hoping with Top Thrill 2. It was open for a total of 8 days, and most of those were during previews. So most of the general public has not experienced Top Thrill 2 in its inaugural season. However, I think everyone was waiting to see how it would do next year. That was the big question, is like, you know, it clearly has some issues at first that they needed to work through, but it is a prototype. This has never been done before. But maybe over this off season and throughout the year, they've been able to figure out what the issues are, pinpoint a solution, and then maybe Top Thrill 2 is reliable next year. But it seems like they aren't even willing to give it a chance. Maybe this was their chance, and then because they haven't been able to figure it out, they're just jumping the gun, and they're like, well, we're just going to close this ride. And that's why I almost wish that they would give Kingda Ka one more season just to see if Top Thrill 2 is successful, because maybe you could do something with Kingda Ka with a different manufacturer if you aren't thrilled with like how it's gone with Zamperla, but you like the concept and the idea, and like most things worked, but maybe there was one particular issue that they said, okay, well, let's, now that we've learned from this error, you know, trying it, let's see if we can perfect it with Kingda Ka.
Maybe the price that Zamperla offered that seemed very, you know, like reasonable, like, yeah, we could do this. And they're realizing, oh no, like it's not gonna, it can't be done that way. And they're like, oh, so the price tag to do this again would be so much more astronomical than we thought, and it's not worth it.
Yeah, and it's ended up costing them a lot more money now that they're having to redo the attraction and make everything work properly.
Well, and PR, you know, there's also the aspect of like, this has made us look bad. So it's like, do we really want to do that to one of our flagship parks?
Well, you're talking looking bad. I would say closing your most iconic roller coaster is definitely one of those things. That's probably why we're currently at the crossroads of where the people at Six Flags Great Adventure can make a decision. Do you formally announce that Kingda Ka is closing on X date? You're going to get backlash, but you're giving people an opportunity to go get their last rides. You can keep it open until the end of Fright Fest, which in this case would be the first weekend of November. There's also a buffer time where they have a weird transition period before Holiday in the Park starts that maybe you could, give Kingda Ka a little extra time. You could do something they've never done before and try and keep Kingda Ka open even longer and run it through Holiday in the Park so that people have even more time to experience it. You might have more rollbacks than usual, but I mean, that would be quite the send-off. Yeah, hey,
that sounds great.
I'll take that one last ride. But, or you can just have it be done.
And that's sad.
And I
don't want to talk about that. I
hate both of these scenarios. And the thing is, Great Adventure is going to get backlash no matter what decision they make. Yeah,
that's the thing. It's kind of like a catch-22 because you're like, I have to make a decision, but I know that it's going to make people upset no matter what. It's like...
There's no win.
We're talking about factors, right? We're talking about clues that might lead us to believe that this is happening. A little ride that is a part of Kingda Ka, essentially, called Zumanjaro, which is currently the world's tallest drop tower, has not really operated at all this year.
It was open for, I think, a couple weeks and is sat closed. This ride is more than likely done for, which is a shame because I feel like it didn't have that long of a run to begin with. Like, we're talking like 10-ish years. And for most of that time, it wasn't even allowed to operate the way it was designed to because of New Jersey. So thanks for that.
All right, let's not come for New Jersey while I'm here.
No, we're coming for New Jersey. They wouldn't allow Kingda Ka and Zumanjaro to operate at the same time. So thank goodness they were able to get that fixed, that you were able to get a duel towards what would now be considered the end of its life. But that's just a crying shame too, because World's Tallest Drop Tower, that was one heck of an experience.
So another factor that might be a very minor one, but still something to talk about, is the fact that Kingda Ka's record is going to be broken. And it no longer can be advertised as the tallest roller coaster in the world. It already lost its fastest record. Now it wouldn't be the tallest either. I think that this might be in a similar boat to like Formula Rosa. Formula Rosa, if you don't already know, is in pieces right now.
Yeah, the entire launch is gone. Like, no track, like, no launch mechanism. That thing is in no way, shape, or form ready to open.
Yeah, we did a video kind of like speculating about it, but that was before we saw it literally in pieces.
That was months ago.
Yeah. So I don't think it's been closed, but I do think that there's a very good chance that they're also adding LSMs, which would mean slowing down the launch, because I don't think you can necessarily launch an LSM straight in one go ahead at 149 miles an hour. Maybe, but not as far as I know. So there's a very good chance that they're like, well, we're losing the record anyway. We can slow it down.
Yeah,
and have it be more manageable.
That's another hydraulic launch coaster that is doing away with the hydraulic launch. So this trend is continuing across the globe.
Yes, absolutely. So, it could be another thing where like, okay, well, that was our big thing, is we had like the record in the world, and now that we're probably losing it and it's problematic and it's costing us a lot of money, we could do something better. We have other ideas. Maybe it's time, I think it all kind of culminates together into, again, a decision that I don't like, but I would be lying if I said I didn't get it.
Yeah. And the thing is that Kingda Ka does sit on a rather big chunk of land that I would just hope that if they do take this thing out, they replace it with something very sizable. I don't think they would go for something as tall or as fast, but I also don't think that a Giga is like out of the question, because this is one of now the Six Flags Entertainment Corporation's flagship parks. I feel like it always was, but now it especially is. Mm-hmm. And the Cedar Fair chain has done a lot with Gigas from B&M in the past. And I feel like that would be one heck of a way to make it up for these fans. Objectively, that could be a better ride experience than Kingda Ka. Kingda Ka, as cool as it is a very short ride. We're talking like, less than 30 seconds. It's awesome. It is incredible. But you could, in theory, build what would be considered a better ride in that spot. And maybe that is the mindset that they have, is that they could move on and do something that would be a whole lot less problematic while still being a big crowd pleaser, right?
I just think overall, like, the age of like these crazy high speed, like 0 to whatever launches are kind of going away.
They're dwindling.
Yeah, and they're like, all right, let's do something that's like higher capacity, that costs less. So again, that like whatever, all of these factors. I think they're all at play for all of these attractions, honestly.
And I feel like it's also no coincidence that a lot of this is happening at the same time, that we are seeing the death of Top Thrill Dragster around the same time as Formula Rosa plus Dodonampa, Kingda Ka. Many of these rides open around the same time, and so I feel like that also kind of speaks to their life cycle, of about 20 years. And then that's when they really start to become an issue that parks are like, okay, we need to start thinking about replacing this attraction. And so this is purely just me speaking out loud, I would keep an eye on Superman at Magic Mountain. I would. The fact that we're having this conversation about Kingda Ka, I feel like Superman has been way more problematic, and I don't see all the behind the scenes of like the maintenance and stuff, but I do know that Dreamworld Australia had a ride that was almost identical, and that thing went bye-bye. So if I were at the Cedar Fair Six Flags head level and I'm looking at problematic attractions, that's probably the one I would pick next.
Yeah, I am worried that like a lot of rides are going to be on the chopping block, which the decisions probably like this one will make sense, but that doesn't mean that they won't have some like emotional bearing on people.
Yeah.
But again, at the end of the day, these are businesses. They need money to open and function and pay their employees and have future investment. And if one ride is draining a huge quantity of their resources, then unfortunately you got to do something about it.
Yeah, which is a shame, because I know there are a lot of people at the Six Flags level that are petitioning, like, no, like, we got to keep this thing open. So this isn't everyone up top that is saying that, hey, we need to close this. And there's
that's probably why there hasn't been an announcement. There's probably a ton of discourse.
Oh yeah. This is it's a tough decision. It absolutely is. And so I think to wrap things up, just try and ride Kingda Ka as soon as you can. If this is something that you haven't experienced yet and you want to, you're running out of time. Go ride it as soon as you can. There's a couple weekends left of Fright Fest, and they're open on weekends leading up to Holiday in the Park. Until we hear something from the park, you never know which one of those weekends might be its last weekend ever. And you know what? If by some miracle it's still open next season, then I will rejoice that we get another full year of Kingda Ka.
Absolutely.
But I'm not optimistic at the moment.
But don't hold us to this. We could end up being totally wrong, and they make a decision that they want to do something like Top Thrill 2, or they decide to just, I don't know, do something to fix it. It's possible. It just doesn't look good.
Things are changing rapidly.
Yeah. So like we might be correct now when we're recording this, but like maybe in 24 hours they will have thought of something different.
Yeah. Who knows?
So we're going to edit this really fast.
So, anyways, we appreciate you guys watching this video. Let us know down in the comments below what you think of this. If you think there's any points that we missed that you'd like to bring up, absolutely let us know. And if Six Flags Great Adventure does make a formal announcement, then we will have another video out for you guys for sure.
I thought you were going to say if Six Flags Great Adventure is watching this, please don't do it.
Oh, please don't do it, yeah. I mean, listen, hey, I know I'll be out there at least one more time to go ride Kingda Ka.
I am all about Team Giga. I always wanted them to have like a 1, 2, 3, 400 kind of profile, but
at what cost now?
Like you can fit it in, just figure it out.
Oh, they have tons of land.
Yeah,
so much land.
You can do it.
Yeah, I will enjoy my rides on Ka while we still have them. So
Ka's king.
Ka is king. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.